record. Hello and welcome everyone to today's live trading London-New York crossover with the Harmonic Scanner. Thanks very much for joining. People from all around the world here. I'm in France. I see several people in the UK, and we've got Brian from Canada who does a great job running our Discord group and set it up. So Brian, did you get any trades this morning on Chance's session? He goes quite fast, doesn't he?
Oh no, that's like 3 in the morning for me, so I'm fast asleep at that hour.
All right, yeah, that's it. Well, it's great for us in Europe doing the live trading in London. Of course, it's just like, you know, going into the office, isn't it? So it's 9 or 10 a.m. for us, which is great. Okay, then let's get started. I'll just start sharing screen. I know Kathy said she's running a bit late. She might not be able to join us, but she'll catch the recording. So where do we want to start today? We'll start with a Canadian one as we've got Brian on. So this is EURCAD, which is just setting up now for a buy. Been following it for quite some time. So what have we actually got here? First thing to say about trading is never rush into a trade, because there's always other trades, and patience really does, you know, pay off. When I've rushed into trades, price has then reversed. It hasn't finished fully setting up, and you want to really follow your confirmation checklist no matter what strategy you're following. You only need one strategy to be successful. Keep rinse and repeating. It's just the same process. Just learn one strategy, keep taking the shots, like Steph Curry, if you're over in the North America, NBL, very successful basketball player. He takes 1,000 shots in practice and then maybe only does 9 or 10, but he's practicing all those shots, so he's just got his eye in. And trading's the same thing. When you take the live trade, you've got to keep taking the shots. That's why you need to connect up your account. I was looking at my statistics on CTrader this morning under Analyze. I'm on CTrader. Or if you're on my FX book, connect it up, then you can see whether you have a bias for long or short positions, buying or selling, what your percentage win rate is against your checklist. Compound your account and you will do very nicely. So let me just take you back to, if you look at the sessions timer up here, if I come down to the 15 minutes, make them a bit broader. So EURCAD, Euro obviously is a London pair, and actually I'll come to the 1 minute to make the bands wider. And Canadian dollar obviously is a New York session pair. So without predicting the market, because that's something we try never to do, never to come to the market with a bias. And that's why I've got an annoying, I like FX Streets as news, but it keeps popping up on my screen and I don't want to read it. I don't want to read that it says, is euro something or other overbought or oversold, because subconsciously I know, and I've done it before, it gets me into a bit of a bias looking at a trade. I just want to look at our Forex factory today, or whatever. You've got my FX book, which gives you the orange folders. I just go for the red. So Australian dollar news this morning, and then all day Italian bank holiday, but a lot of red flag news across the major pairs, culminating in Friday on the non-farm payroll, which is the single biggest event of the month. It's the 5th of June because it's the last Friday of the month, so it's because of the way bank holidays have fallen. So the market gets very choppy throughout the week, and it's uncertain, and it will only move when these red flags start and giving their news announcements, and then it all gets bunged up for Friday because all the big traders are waiting for Friday. So most of us small retail traders, we don't trade on a Friday on non-farm payroll. But in any event, any of this red flag news, stay out of live trading for the pair that's mentioned for at least 30 minutes either side of it, if not an hour, okay? And these should all be set to your local time zone, and make sure you've got your sessions thing up here. So that will help you learn which pairs move in which session, and time of day when things move, you know, is important. And of course, you've got to fit it in with when you can come on and get on with your trading. So once you've done that, then if we have a look back through, so the yellow bar is London session. So we can see coming out of Tokyo that we can see that there's Tokyo, and it it just was, it was down here, then it made its move of about an hour into London. That's the euro forcing that move. And then this kind of gets into the dead zone. My time of trading when I'm doing that crossover to the blue. So what I've noticed in this hour, it's the dead zone. You know, price will often reverse slightly or just consolidate. It will range, become a bit choppy, but that doesn't stop me off having done my market setup, what it is that I'm looking for. So on this one, I did a fib. You don't have to do fibs. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I get equally confused with them sometimes. And if I get confused, I just take it off and I look for my other 3 confirmations, one of which is always a pitchfork touch, which is this white line here in this case. So I put a fib on from low, about 100% there, to high, past to present. And then I was looking for this 61.8 pullback, but it hasn't done that. So, okay, the fib isn't particularly working, but it doesn't, I think, necessarily invalidate the trade. So what have we got? Well, we've got the orange just crossing over the blue. So that's a confirmation. We've had a pitchfork touch several times up here, but it didn't quite break by the 10 pips. It's only broken by 8, and now it's breaking by the 10. So what I'm looking for now is for price. I wouldn't get into this trade because it hasn't done a solid enough retest for me. Sometimes price just takes off. It doesn't exactly give you that. But for me, there are plenty of other trades, and I've had my fingers burnt before where I've got into trades where it's just broken and retested 6, 7, 8 pips. And sure enough, you know, it hasn't moved that way, and its market's decided to go for the sell instead of the buy. So one confirmation here is the orange crossing the blue, check. Second confirmation, pitchfork touch, which we must have on every trade on this strategy, check. Third confirmation could be the break and retest of 10 pips, in which case if this comes back down to 1.51030, that's the pitchfork roundabout there, that would be our third confirmation. And then once the candle turns again, in this case blue candle, for a buy, I have my blues in the, for a buy. You know, in other words, don't get in on a buy if the candle's still green. You know, wait for the candle to turn back round above the 62, and of course it's broken quarter theory. So you've got the confirmations there. So you've got some nice confirmations for a buy if you want to look at this one. And we'll just go back and have a look at, I wanted to show you previous sessions briefly, because I know we're here to do live trading and find setups, which is fine. Absolutely agree. But I just wanted to, I was looking at this myself this morning. So, and again, I don't want to predict the market. I'm no fantastic, great big Wall Street trader. I have no aspirations to do that. I'm simply trying to do this full time. COVID closed my holiday apartments. I'm a WASPy woman, so the UK government put my pension back 6 years after 40 years of work, otherwise I would be retired. And this is my route to freedom. Same for all of you, whether you're working or your knees are going, or you don't want to do your trade anymore. You know, this provides huge opportunity for us, because it's the commoditization of tools that previously only the few rich people could do in offices, you know, become stockbrokers and big traders. And this is true democratization at work. It's absolutely fantastic, the tools that this offers us. So here's a previous session, this yellow session. You can see it did the same sort of thing. This is what it does in my session before I come on the blue for New York. You can see it just does this stall out after London. It's the dead zone. I'm an hour ahead of you if you're in the UK. So that's 12 o'clock my time, would be 1 o'clock your time, and you can see it's just stalling, and then it pushes up the other way under the 62, breaks and retests the 62 under pitchfork. There's no quarter theory at this level, and then a very big drop down. And we'll just do one more, but you get the idea. Put this sessions timer on at the top. It's so good for back testing. I take a vertical line and I mark it, and I look where price does its moves. So I literally do that, and I'll mark up 10 previous days worth and have a look and write down, where did EURCAD, where did USJPY make its move, etc. And I find that really helpful. So previous session, there's another one just as it comes up to my crossover. Did a stall out, tested the 15-minute EMA, and then took off and made that move into New York above the 62, above the pitchfork, and there's 70 pips up there. One more, and then we really will go back to what we're doing. So again, I don't want to predict the market, but I'm trying to work out what, you know, because I trade this exact same time. I've just loaded about 70 or 80 hours of trading videos to YouTube.
It's just bounced there off the pitchfork, the EURCAD.
Oh, well, then it's a buy. So if you,
It's a buy, yeah.
I haven't set up my extended desktop, but if you want to get in for that for a buy, I would be doing that. So
yeah.
But it's your choice. You've got to look at your own confirmations. So again, look here, the same crossover, down to the pitchfork, consolidate above the 62. It's done its break and retest. I don't know how many pips, and that's that only did 4 pips there. So and there's no pitchfork because price has moved. Where's the pitchfork? 1.5. Not sure. Don't want to dwell on that at the moment because I want to get back onto the trading. But anyway, you get the general principle. So there's a move in New York again. So I'm always saying New York makes its moves. There's 50 pips. About an hour. There's the EURCAD. So that's and that says stop profit in. So not that I'm in it. I've just come out of USJPY because I was coming on this, and that's CAD JPY's gone off. Haven't looked at that one for a moment. So hopefully I can put this on my live trading results for today. But I really do want to, I keep saying it, start taking trades on here, on these sessions with you guys. I just struggle a bit with hardware and technology. I just need to get a cable, set up the other monitor and work out how to do it. Yeah, there we are. So,
you haven't got an old laptop or something like that, Sarah, you could use?
Yeah, I have. I've got a laptop plus another big server machine. I was going to put this big screen. So do I just
That's what I use. I just have a laptop to the side, which I just place the trades on, and that's all I use it for.
Yeah, but when I'm on this, I want to be able to put so I can see you guys in the chat. You can put that on the extended desktop so I can see who I'm chatting to and what's in the chat, and have my, oh, I see what you mean. I could just have my trading over there on my C trader.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We wouldn't need to see a laptop. It's just for you to use it to trade with.
Oh, good idea. Yes. Okay, I will do that.
That's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm watching you on my main screen, and then I've got my laptop to the side, which has just got a raw MT4 account on it. I just placed the trade on there.
Yes, I like to use on C Trader, pulling the stop loss up and down though.
Yeah, well, obviously you could do the same. You could put the C Trader on your laptop on the web.
Yeah,
just do it that way.
I will definitely have a look at that. So if I was in this trade, I would be stop profiting now, risk free with 1 pip. That's where that blue line is. And there's my alert gone off for the 10 pips. So I'm not in that, but hopefully you looked at that. So it didn't do the reverse back to the 61.8, but we did have the other confirmation. So now when you're in this, when you're in any trade, you've got to think to yourself, I like to do these blue lines across. I do the same thing the whole time. So I'll look at the settings. You don't have to do it like this. It's just the way I do it. So I've got exactly in at 1 pip my coordinates, and I can read it on the bar. So I'm not having to think in a muddle when I go over to C Trader to move my stop loss to stop profit for a risk-free trade. And again, I do the same on the 10 pips here. So that's in at exactly 10 pips from where I would have got in. And then where is my exit zone? Well, I can't really use the fib because normally I'd use the fib. 0 at 1, take profit 1, minus 27, take profit 2, minus 61.8, take profit 3, but it didn't bounce off that 61.8 as we know. So for my profit levels, I'd either be looking at my 20 pips, which on this strategy gives me a 2-to-1 risk to reward. And then if it continues in a strong upward momentum with the orange line coming up, so in fact I would be moving my trend line now, because trend lines you can move them. So you want your your price to stay this left-hand side above the 62, the orange line, because it's supporting, it's pushing price up. Once it drops below that 62, you need to think about getting out the trade. If it fails now, you'll get stop profited out. So either take your 10 pips on 1-to-1, or you know, you've got to make a judgment. But you can see that it's tailing off slightly, but that could be because we're just coming into New York. Look at the 15-minute candle close. Has it got a wick at the top? That's the sort of thing I do. I look at the candle close on the 15-minute and the half hourly. So it needs to stay above the orange. And then for my second possible take profit levels, I would be looking at that quarter theory. That's the next level up at 46, nearly 50 pips. And then the next pitchfork up at 76 pips. That's how I look at these zones. So I mean, that's you know, that's all I can say, unless anyone's got any more questions on this one. I'm going to move on to something else, because it could come back down and test that pitchfork again. It could come down and test that 62. The other way you can look at this is that you trail your stop loss about 3 pips behind the 62 EMA. Personally, my preference is I put a 1 pip stop profit in, then I know I'm risk free. Depending on what pips I've got beforehand, I will say, okay, you know, I'll leave it. If I get stop profited out, fine. But you know, I could leave it to run. But I can see that's tailing off slightly, because as I say, the one thing that concerned me about this is it hasn't come back down and tested that 61.8. It's not showing a reversal on a, you know, Elliott wave extension. It's not showing a reversal point back to the 61.8. But if we come to the hourly scan that actually formed this trade, then you can see where we are with it. Now, I don't need to come out to the hourly, or, you know, 15-minute for chart setups, yes, but I don't need to come out and look at this, because what's happening on the 1 minute is the same pattern that's happening on the 15-minute or the hourly. So I'm only in that 1 minute for the precise entry. I'm looking at chart setups on the 15-minute, but I'm going back down to the 1 minute. I'm not usually looking at the hourly at all. But you can look at the bigger trend for the break and the retest to see what's happening. Here you can see it respected perfectly. This is a D point from the 27th of May. Can't remember how big the scan was, obviously. The scan is 263. So that's about 260 divided 26 divided by 4. 6 is a 24, 60 odd pips per leg, and our minimum scan is 20 pips per leg, so that's quite a nice big scan. So it's come up here, it's stalled right along that pitchfork for, that is London, New York, through to Tokyo, took off here, that blue above, this is on the hourly, is New York. So that might have been news, because it did 50, 100, 150, and right out. Oh, I haven't got my, I haven't got the extensions on this one. That's your extensions, which act like Bollinger Bands. So it's come right up to the C point. It's successfully completed the scan. If we looked at the Harmonic Scanner, then it would have given us an entry down here with take profit levels at round about these points. And now it didn't go right out to the extensions. It's come back down, rejected that pitchfork quarter theory. There's 50 pips down. There is under the 62, under the pitchfork, a lovely entry there, under quarter theory. That must be news, because it's straight down there, 100 pips. And here we are right down at this bottom level. It hasn't come right out to the extensions, but it's starting to work its way back up again. And that's what we have been looking at. So technically, unless there's a later scan, because I haven't looked at the scanner this morning, then you know, it should respect that. I can see an old scan, those green lines coming through, which I fade out, and there's the extensions on it there. So sometimes I do see price stall out on old scans, and if you are going to follow this strategy, then you'll build up these scans over time, and they are quite helpful in helping you know when to get out of a trade sometimes. Okay, so that's everything on EURCAD. That was quite exciting. Has it dropped back right back down? Yes. So if we look at the 15-minute candle, let's see what story that told us. And look on the right hand side, you can see it says it's got 4:55. You've got a timer countdown here showing you how many more minutes it's got to complete this particular candle. So on the 15-minute candle, it was slightly below quarter theory. That was the open of the buy candle, the blue one. And it's quite a solid one because there's only a tiny, tiny wick on it. So quite a nice solid buy candle, but it has wicked out there on the close. So that was the highest that it achieved, but it fell back and permanently closed there. So that is it now printed forever on this scan. So that says it's falling back a bit. What we would have liked, although here, that is quite a solid buy, but then it did drop right back. EURCAD, I think it's only, EURCAD is an 8, so it is quite a fast pair. So it did drop, even though that was a solid engulfing buy candle, second buy candle there to engulf that green sell candle. It did come back down, but that could be because it's the dead zone coming out of London. Here's the doji candle coming up towards the hourly close, and then a buy candle, but wicked off. But again, it's wicking off the green as well. So sometimes I watch on the 15-minute, it's got 3 minutes left to see, well, okay, how engulfing is this sell candle going to be? Shall I stay in this trade? Am I now out of it because I've got stop profited out because it's come below the pitchfork and quarter theory? This is where you have to make a judgment, because as I say, the thing that concerned me a bit about this, I would have liked it to have made that 61.8 reversal point to have acted as the ping, you know, the ping, the boomerang back up. So probably might have been best to have grabbed, there it is coming back down on the 1 minute, to have grabbed the 10 pips. You just have to get a feel for, you know, which would have been 1-to-1 or stop profited out, no harm done, try another one. So that's where we are on that one. What shall I look at next? I have looked at some and there were no setups. I looked at Euro, NZD, EURCAD, unless you've got anything you want me to look at, AUD USD, CAD JPY, GBP JPY. This one is, so I'm going to close that one and we won't get slowed down. USD JPY is the one I just took the 10 pips on, so I thought I might explain this one to you. And sod's law, I came out of it because of coming on here, and you know, that's absolutely fine. This was a stronger trade than EURCAD, and once I've got my desktop extended thing set up, then I can stay in it. But I just thought, what shall I do? And I felt, because it suddenly shot up, that I'd close out at the 10 pips, which is that blue line there. That was my take profit too. I did put it in my group if anyone saw that, to give you the zones, and it's already done take profit 3. So if we had been in that, and I got in at that 107798 was where I entered, and I'll tell you why I entered in a minute. There's 797, so that's done 52 pips, and that did that in got in there. So that did that, that's done that in an hour, because it was a bit slow taking off. So let's just have a quick look at this trade. So I'm on the 1 minute. So I put a fib on it there. It's a buy scan. So from low to high, always past the present and never on current price if you're putting a fib on. So there's the 100. And at the time I put it up to there, that was the high. And then it came back on the 61.8, which I thought, oh, good, I really like that. Then see how it came back again and rejected off it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So I really like the look of that. What else did I have? I had the pitchfork there, I didn't have quarter theory though, and I do like my quarter theory with the pitchfork, as you know. So I didn't have that, but I did have all those rejections off the 61.8, which I really liked. Plus the orange has crossed the blue. And then as I put it in my group saying, watch this for a buy, it would have been sometime around about here. So I was watching it and it came down, and it when I was watching it, it was falling back down to here, and I was thinking, okay, is it going to come? I can't remember when I put it up, but it wouldn't have been in Tokyo, so it must have been here. So we'll just magnify it a bit. So it came back down and it's tested the 15-minute. So you can see I only had a stop loss of 10 pips on this because it's not a GBP pair. But if you had, would I have got into it there? Oh, I was late in this trade as well because I'm 3.5 pips off the pitchfork, and that was just simply, I don't know why I got into it late, because you do have to be quite precise on this to get onto your trading platform and place your trade. That's the thing with this. You have to do the Steph Curry. You have to keep taking the shots. But I'm only ever doing, on this strategy, we do 2% risk management. That keeps you in the game. You know, to have to lose 50 trades in a row to blow your account. And the way to get good at this is you have to keep taking the shots. Practice on demo, that's what it's there for. I always say, or most of us say, take 100 demo trades, write down what went right, what went wrong. You know, just keep doing it. It depends how you like to learn. I like to learn by doing. Obviously, it's not fun learning by doing and blowing your own money, but at 2% risk management, that should keep you fairly safe. So I was watching this. It had done a break. There's the break and retest, and another break and retest there. And then it came up, and this is the point at which to enter, is as it closes above the 62. That's why I was in late, because when I got in, I was worried about my golden rule, which is don't enter a trade 10 minutes before the hour. And at your time, if you're watching this in the UK, that says 12:55. So it was 5 to 12. I don't want to get into trades 10 minutes before the hour. And there it is above the 62, just as it passes midday UK time, 1 o'clock my time. But I was a bit slow pulling the trigger, and I was about 3.5 pips late, which I don't like. I like to be right on that pitchfork in case the trade pulls back on me. However, I did like everything, particularly that 61.8, several rejections back there. So I did press the trigger and I got out at 10 pips. I would genuinely have stayed in if I hadn't been coming on here. I'm not blaming anyone. I don't mean it to sound like that. I had thought to myself, I've got a choice. I could put the trailing stop on C Trader and leave it, or I can just secure the bag and get out. And I decided to do that. Or I thought I can let it run, see how we get on, stop sharing screen and do something with it. I'm just saying you have to decide when you're getting a trade what you're going to do with it. And I always mark up my profit zones. And it's still going up. So very nice trade, that one. Okay, so I'll just clear that up while we're here. No, I can't because it's hidden behind your faces, so I'll leave that at the moment. So that's US JPY. Is there anything anyone wants me to look at? Otherwise, I will see what's doing on some of the others. Let me just write that down. USD JPY we've done. EURCAD we've done. Oh, I'll just show you. This is a London session pair. I was looking at this for a sell, but it's a very slow pair, and I've only got one scan on it, which is a very big scan, which is these purple lines. And in this instance, I was looking for it. This was London session. So I was looking for it to continue this downward trend, break below quarter theory, do the break and retest off the extensions here, which act like a boomerang, and for it to carry on down into the scan. It didn't do that. It decided to go up, and I don't have any scan up there, so it's a no-go for me. I've only got that one scan on that pair. Okay, So nothing doing on that. Just thought I'd explain that one. It's another one I was looking at. And Euro GBP, I didn't have anything on. Australian dollar, US dollar, EURCAD, GA. Which one shall I look at? GN's a very fast one. This is, let's see what that's doing. It's a crazy pair. It's not one of my favorites. And it's fallen right off that last scan. That would have been my most recent scan, and it's coming into an old scan now, I think. So it's still being pushed down, which is quite phenomenal, really. That's dropped 150 pips in London today. So I don't know if that's Boris Johnson and Brexit, or what's causing that to fall against New Zealand dollar. But there we are. I haven't got anything on that. We could look at where that old scan is. Just see what it's, so I can have a look at it another time maybe. So it's come into that green one. And there is another one going up. So I'm not sure which one, well, that's going down. So let's have a look at that one. I've put the padlock on, then I don't glitch it. So that's off a scan from May. But there is this upward scan, which is slightly more recent, which is this one here. I'll change the purple so you can have a look at that. So it's respecting the green. It seems to be respecting the green downward scan in line with all those green candles, and it's below the quarter theory. This is on the hourly and below the 62. But it is in those outer extensions of that more recent purple scan. So not quite sure what it wants to do at the moment. Come down to the 15-minute and then we'll move on to something else. So to the pip, it's respecting the green one. Although, as I say, it's also in the extensions of the purple one, but it is, price is still being forced down by the orange. Although there, on the 1 minute, we can now see maybe it's bottomed out. Look, to the pip. That's why I love pitchforks, because that's from 20th of May to the pip. It's rejected off that green scan pitchfork. And this is the extension here, these two purple ones of the slightly more recent scan we just looked at. So maybe it's now coming back up to test that 15-minute and carry on down. You can see here, it's well below the 62. That's still shoveling it down, but it's now breaking that. So that's the way I'd be looking at that. You just have to build up your old scans. I'm not sure what this is doing because it's at a bit of a crossroads. I'm kind of thinking the purple's a bit more recent. It's in the extensions, and therefore it's finished its downward move and it's starting to come on up. Sorry about this orange line, vertical line. That's just trading view glitches when price crosses. And also this is a very fast pair. So that's everything on GN. And we'll find another one. I see Bitcoin's gone up quite a lot today. But I haven't got a scan on it. It's come right out of the scan I had. Those are all Asian pairs. USD CAD. I haven't looked at that today. I'm on the 1 minute. So what have we got here? We've got it's in a cell in that orange is still under the blue. It is in a downward trend clearly, and it's now it wasn't a price trap, and it's decided to, it's going more into a buy mode. But this is a downward scan. So if we come out to the 15-minute, it's kind of playing between the orange and the blue, I think. Let me lock that on so I don't move anything. That's off this scan from 21st of April. Oh, and there's a more recent scan from the 30th. So if I change that, I'll just change this color to, say, green. I usually put older ones in a green or purple, and I have my most recent ones in white. Then it helps, I find, not to be quite so confused when you see all this sort of like Battenberg cake crisscross going on, and you want charts as clean as possible, otherwise it's really easy to get quickly confused, and you don't want that at all. So normally I'll fade out that green one. I won't have this like staring at me like, what the hell? It's like driving down the road not knowing which side you're meant to be driving on, and I've done that quite a few times when I moved over here. So it's not respecting the most recent scan at the moment. It is in the green one. So let's just fade that out at the moment. So we've got a little bit less to look at. So it's rejected off the extensions. The orange has crossed under the blue. It's outside quarter theory, because quarter theory works about 200 pips either side of current price. That's why you can't see the orange lines up there. You can stall out for absolutely ages. Just absolutely sat there and did nothing for five days. And then under the 62, under quarter theory, stays under. So US dollar selling off hard against the Canadian dollar that was from Tokyo yesterday throughout the night. That's London, and then it's made its move as you'd expect. It's a New York session pair, made its move yesterday down nearly 150 pips, and then Tokyo again, stall out, London, and now we're in New York. It's bouncing back up. This is called the New York reversal. Usually does the opposite to London, but hey, this is where you don't want to get into saying, oh, it always does that, I'm going to write that down and predict the market. You know, you don't want to come to the market with a bias. So let's come back to where we are on the 1 minute. Now we know this is a downward scan. It's respecting the green one, but it's rejected off quarter theory. Have we got enough for a trade? How much did it reject by off the pitchfork? It did 10 pips rejection there several times, 4 times, and it is working its way up to the next quarter theory, the next level. So it could be testing the 15-minute, which is bang on quarter theory, and then it might decide it's carrying on its downward trend because there is quite a gap. It is still well below that 15-minute EMA. You know, you've got a very, very clear, strong downward trend. This is your trend. You have to decide where you're going to put trend lines. You know, it's a bit subjective. You know, you can put them very, very tight or very a bit further out. So I'll just take off that extend right line at the moment and put that like that. So what we're looking for is it going to break and retest the trend line there? It's got this downward trend. It's a bit of a spike there, but that was coming into London on the hour. No, sorry, not on the hour. 9:55. There's your hourly fake out. It went up. It hit off quarter theory, and then it's carried on down. So you've got a bit of slippage there. You can kind of work out why. But we've got 1, 2, got 3 touches there. So personally, I would be looking to see what it does here, but you've got no pitchfork here, And you must always have a pitchfork touch for any trade you enter on this strategy. So you're looking for it, and then you've got quite a big gap here. So if you're thinking it's going to carry on buying, if the orange comes up and crosses the blue, then you know how much stop loss have you got to put on, because you do, if you can, you do want to cover, you know, cover what you're looking at. So I probably wouldn't look at it until up here. And then your quarter theory is going to be where you'd look to see it, you know, take your profit because of the gap. So it's not an ideal trade up there. So the other thing is it going to reject off quarter theory like it did there and come back down? How many pips have we got between legs? 72. So that's a big scan. So if you think it's going to carry on in the downward trend and it rejects off quarter theory and the 62 doesn't cross above, it stays underneath. Sometimes it looks like it's going to cross, like on that EURCAD at one point, it looked like it was going to cross, and then when I posted it in my group, and then it didn't. So if the orange does come up and comes down and price stays underneath it, then, and you've got price under quarter theory as well, and you've got, say, another confirmation of a break and a retest of the 1 minute trend, then you could look at taking a sell back down to this level. But it's not the best, to me, it's not the best setup in the world. It's not the clearest, because it's like sitting between the orange and the blue, and has it now finished its run down, or is it still carrying on down? So another level I would like to look at, this is my sort of preference, is down here. That to me, and I suppose it's just personal trading styles, but that to me is a much better setup, because and there would be your take profit zones down here, that the orange quarter theory, and then the pitchfork down there, because you've got, if you get in here, same principle as you just saw on EURCAD, except this is a sell, not a buy, then you've got both the pitchfork and quarter theory acting as those nice buffers to help stop price taking you out of the trade and hitting your stop loss. And then you've got time, once it's hit 10 pips, to get your stop profit in, 1 pip under the quarter theory for a risk-free trade, and you can breathe a bit more easily. You know, worst that can happen then is you've got kind of a break even, or, you know, stopped out at 1 pip, you know, that's all good. So that's how I would be looking at this, but that's just me. I prefer to work my way through the charts and find this kind of thing. And like the EURCAD one, you know, wait for those sort of setups. So that's USD CAD. And let's find something else. I haven't looked at, yes, I have CAD JPY. There was nothing on that. Those are London pairs. GA is a fast pair like GN. We'll have a look at that. And also, I haven't looked at GCAD. We'll look at that next. So GA and GCAD we're going to be looking at now. So big run in London, 50, 100, 150 pips. It's done this morning. Very nice indeed. Here's the stall out that happens in that last bit of London and in the run up to my session, which is great for setting up what you want to look at for when New York starts running, which would be 2 o'clock your time, 10 minutes time, 3 o'clock my time. So again, similar thing to what we've just seen on USD CAD. It's between the orange and the blue. It's stalled out, hasn't met the extensions. There's the next pitchfork, and we could put a fib on this. I don't know if that will work. So I would put it from that low, and it's just gone to the wrong one. Make sure it's on precisely there. So no, that fib doesn't work at all because it's way outside the 100. So that's not going to do anything for us. So in terms of this, you've still got a downward trend, but it is now reversing. So you want to see a break and a retest there. Again, not my favorite kind of setup. because you've got to be off the pitchfork. So stop loss would be too big for me. I can't cover that quarter theory. It's a very fast pair, so there's no way I would want to get into that. It's a very fast pair. I'm prepared to go up to about 15, maybe 17 or 18, but I just don't do 20, 22 pip stop losses. That's just too much for me. And I don't like that gap at all. So that's GA. And we'll look at GCAD, which is another one of the fast ones. If anyone's got any questions, do ask in the last 10 minutes, or I'll look at the chat just before we go. I obviously haven't looked at this for a while because I've got an alert right down there, and it obviously didn't do anything there. And I've got a fib on there. Right, so GCAD, we have got the orange crossed over. You see, here's a typical example where you think it's going to cross down for the sell, but it didn't. It turns around and it says, no, don't want to do that. I'm going to carry on up. As I said, it's a very fast pair, and it's making its move. That's the Canadian dollar forcing the move now. So that would have been the entry. There's your take profit up at the first level up there, about 35 pips. And fast pair, so need to cover that quarter theory and have the 15 pip stop loss. But it didn't do, it just shot straight up. It hasn't done a break and a retest. As you can see, it did do quite a lot of rejections off it there. Let's try and see if we could have worked out what would have happened with a fib on the low to the high past the present. Oh, look at that, perfect, off the 78.6. So that would have helped me think about getting into this, although it is a fast pair, if I hadn't got that break in the retest there, because number one, the orange didn't turn down for the sell, it turned back. Number two, you have got the pitchfork touch, and you've had all these rejections up here, and you've got this rejection off the fib, a very nice rejection there. So there's your take profit one that it's just hitting at about 30 pips, and then it might carry on through to that 37 up at quarter theory. So fast pair, missed that one. If I had been looking at that today for a setup, then I probably would have looked at it, but I didn't. I was looking at other stuff early on in London, round about this point. Could see that the orange had crossed the blue, and I would have set an alert along that line here to have come back to it once it had and put that in pale blue. It's not a trend line. If you stick to the same colors for all your stuff, it gives your brain much less headache, much less, and then put an alert on that. Then I would have orange has crossed the blue. I would have waited for it to come up. It would have hit it there. I would have looked at that. But it had only come back down. Oh, it had come to the 61.8 there. Now, the problem with this one is you could have said, all right, then it's rejected off that. I've got my break and a retest. It's above the 62. So if I had got in there, that's at 12:30, I would have looked at the hourly candle. Yeah, I would have got 20 pips off that. So that would have been fine, and it is a fast pair. But then it decided to come back down onto the 78, and it's off again. So, you know, nice little setup there. And that's what I would have done, got out at the 20 pips once I'd looked at the half-hour candle and how it had started to reverse or whatever. But I certainly would have had the stop profit in, and depending on where the 62 was, have slightly moved it up, because as I say, it's a fast pair, so you have to give the trade room to breathe, particularly on the fast pairs. So that's GCAD. No trade on it at the moment until it comes up to there. Although this is another big scan, I may have some other scans sitting in the background.
Sarah?
Yeah.
I have a question that I haven't quite been able to work out yet. When you say we need a pitchfork touch,
Yeah.
how recent does that need to be?
Recent, right in the moment when you are looking at the time frame on the 1 minute to get into a trade. If you're looking at touches further back, then you're looking on longer time frames. So for us, it has to be like you've got them here, you've got all these, but it still decides it's going to go back down there. So ideally, if we had a look on that.
So on the 1 minute time frame, you're talking within 2 or 3 bars?
Well, it won't necessarily always take off from that point, because you might get slippage, you might get the hourly fake out, it might want to retest the 15 minutes. So the point is, it could have been about 5 minutes ago, it might have been 15 minutes ago, but you know you've had the break and the retest. So what is causing it to go in the opposite direction before it comes back up? So the EURCAD one was a perfect example of that, I think. Did I take off? I don't think I took off the markings, did I? So with the EURCAD one, it had done this break and the retest here. The white line is the pitchfork. So, but it was only 7.3 pips. So that worried me in terms of how big a move you're going to get, because you need 10 really. It didn't come back down. It didn't even touch the 50% line. I wanted to see if it would come back down and touch the 61.8. I was still looking at it for a buy though, because it was a buy scan. The D point's quite recent. It was an upward trend, and I thought the 62 was going to come above the blue, and indeed it has done that, but it's failed slightly, and now it's doing it again. It had everything all in the right zone. So it had quarter theory, the orange coming above the blue, and the pitchfork. That's all really powerful. That's why I thought, oh, this is a potential buy to put in my group, right? So, but when I looked at that previous break and retest, it was only 7 pips. So I thought, okay, maybe before it gets to that setup, and this is where patience comes into play on trading, I thought maybe it wants to come all the way back down to the 61.8 or even the 78.6 before it decides it's making its move up. Yeah, because it is quite a fast pair, EURCAD. It's an 8, so it can make those quite big swings. So it didn't go that far down. There's the half-hour candle, and here's the hourly. So on the hourly, it came down and tested the 1 minute trend line, and here's another break and a retest. So then I come and I measure and say, okay, it's doing it again, and there's that 10 pip break and retest. So once it's proved that to me, and then it's come down onto the pitchfork, and its price is above the 62, but herein with this one is the problem with this trade, then I would get into the trade. However, what actually happens here, this is 1 minute, number one, the orange is turning round on us, and number two, strong sell candles, and it doesn't like it. It's just failed on us. So even though it's broken and retested 10 pips, once it's down at this point, the trade is telling you another story, not to get into the trade, because it's broken the 1 minute trend line, and it's sell candles, and it's come below the orange line. Do you see what I mean? So even though it's done the 10 pip break and retest a few pips before, did it over here, didn't do it enough, too far back. I'm looking at everything in conjunction, working together. Okay, so everything needs to work together. So it is now making its move, by the way, up. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
So here is the move at the moment, but I can't quite get that. That says it's broken the trend. That's very steep. So again, it's broken that trend line. I've got it in my alert color. So here's the break and the retest of the 1 minute trend, which says it doesn't like it says it's falling back down now. It's come the other side of it, although it's still above the 62. So the better trend, new trend might be that. And I want price to stay the right side, well, the left side, but you know what I mean, the correct side of my 1 minute trend. But I haven't got a lot of touches on it at the moment. But price is still above the 62. So that's, you know, it's everything. You want everything working together. Everything working together. So I wouldn't have got in up there. I would have thought about getting in here, but that green engulfing candle would have told me not to get in. And sure enough, it couldn't get back up again. So I would have been, and it's below the pitchfork and it's testing quarter theory. I would have been waiting for it to, you know, finish doing what it wants to do, which was obviously it's done doing that now. So would I have got in here? Would I have got in there? Orange is above. It's done the break and the retest back there. Yeah, yes, I think I would. I possibly would have got in there, although it didn't come down, and I would have liked it to have retested that 62 maybe on there. Okay. Let's have a look on the 15-minute. Oh, coming up to 2 o'clock your time, I think Sharon's on next. I don't want to interrupt anyone. Just take that off. So I'll just finish now. Sorry, we didn't find any new trades. I hope that was helpful. Oh, well, the 15-minute tells a better story because the blue buy candle is above the quarter theory. So, you know, on the 15-minute slightly longer term, it's looking quite nice. It's looking better carrying on for the buy. The 15-minute candle close is quite good. So I'd probably wait now. I'd wait and see what it does back to that pitchfork and see if it's, you know, because this is turning here on the slightly longer time frame. Although it's still coming up on the 5-minute and the 1 minute. As I say, it's quite a fast pair. And now probably feel it's a bit late to get in at the moment because it's now several pips away from the pitchfork. It's 10 pips away now. Okay, so that's everything for today. I'm going to stop. I've got some things in the chat. Got 26 pips on USD JPY, really shot up. Eric, that's brilliant. GBP JPY, I'll have a look at that after this. EURCAD dropped back quite a bit. Yeah, might have hit a fib level. Don't think it did yet at the moment. Can you give a precise name for your color bar trading zones indicator? That is PC-FX sessions, and it's the FX coach one. And you do need. I'll just show it to you briefly. Take a screenshot. You do need a code for it. It's this one. PCFX trading sessions, the FX coach with 464 likes. It's that one. And the settings are FORMA18 is the code that you need. Set it to default because it works the time zones out for you. I've made that mistake before where I've changed them, and it does it for you. And then style, I don't have Sydney because that's the kind of dead zone midnight time. Never trade that. Tokyo, London, New York. Just make them whatever color you want. So that's there you are. If you want to take a screenshot of that, okay. And come back to the chat. Oh, thanks, Brian. Thank you very much. Peace. Yeah, good. Thanks for that. Trading strategy instruction sheet. Yes, we have a trading sheet, John. I can send you that. I'm not sure if I'm friends with you on Facebook. I think it's in my group. But
it's in the units. It's in the unit section in your group, Sarah.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Is John, are you a member of the Harmonic Scanner Pitchforks group of mine? Has he gone? Is he gone? Is he there?
I'm here. No, I don't think I am.
Oh, okay. I'll send you an invite to that group. I'm sorry. I mean to do more technical videos for that group, and I just haven't got round to them yet. So, but there is a trading sheet in there. And please ask any questions in the group. Anyone be happy to help you, or message me. Kathy Walker's also an admin. She'll help as well. So that's everything for today. Yeah, well, thanks for joining. I hope that was helpful, and happy trading, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Sarah. Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.